It's 1:47 a.m., your phone is face down on the bed, but your mind is wide awake. You replay a conversation that already happened. You overthink something you should have said. You start questioning where your life is going, school, money, relationships, your future. Everyone else seems to be moving forward, and somehow you feel stuck, even though you're trying. If you've ever felt like your own thoughts are working against you, this video is for you. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people won't tell you. Your life isn't as chaotic as it feels, your thinking is. Most stress doesn't come from reality, it comes from the stories we keep telling ourselves. The fear, the doubt, the pressure to figure it all out, in your teens or 20s, it's not because you're behind. It's because no one ever taught you how to think clearly in a noisy world that never shuts up. This is where Think Straight comes in, not as a motivational speech, not as a hustle manual, but as a mental reset. This book doesn't try to pump you up, it tries to calm you down and sharpen your thinking. It teaches you how to stop reacting emotionally, stop overanalyzing everything, and start making decisions you don't regret later. The kind of decisions that quietly change the direction of your life. So stay with me till the end, because by the time this video is over, you'll understand why overthinking isn't your personality, why discipline isn't about forcing yourself, and why clarity is the real advantage no one talks about. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally taking control of the voice in your head and learning how to make it work for you, not against you. Chapter 1: Clarity, Seeing Your Life as It Really Is. Most people don't realize how unclear their lives are until they finally stop moving. Picture a college student sitting in their car after class, engine off, phone in hand, staring at nothing. They're busy all day, classes, work, scrolling, texting, but they feel lost. Not because they lack options, but because they have too many voices pulling them in different directions. Society says one thing, social media says another. Family expectations add pressure. And somewhere in all that noise, their own voice gets buried. Clarity doesn't come from adding more goals or consuming more content. That's the trap. We think the answer is out there, another video, another podcast, another opinion. But clarity actually comes from subtraction, from turning down the noise long enough to ask honest questions. What do I want right now? What actually matters this year, not 5 years from now? Without those answers, life feels like running on a treadmill, lots of effort, no movement. Here's the uncomfortable part. Confusion often feels safer than clarity. When you're confused, you don't have to commit. You don't have to risk being wrong. You can say, "I'm still figuring things out," and stay stuck without feeling guilty. But clarity forces responsibility. Once you see what matters, you can't unsee it. And that scares people, especially when you're young and afraid of choosing the wrong path. Think about how many goals you're carrying that aren't even yours. Goals you picked up from Instagram, from friends, from what looks impressive on paper. Clarity begins when you question those goals instead of blindly chasing them. Just because something sounds successful doesn't mean it fits your life. When your goals don't align with who you are, motivation disappears, and you blame yourself instead of the mismatch. This chapter teaches one powerful shift. You don't need to know your entire future. You only need to know your next honest priority, not the perfect plan, not the 5-year vision, just the one thing that deserves your focus right now. When you simplify your direction, your anxiety drops, your energy returns, decision-making becomes easier because you're no longer scattered. By the end of this chapter, clarity stops feeling like a luxury and starts feeling like a necessity. Without it, effort is wasted and stress multiplies. With it, even hard days feel purposeful. You may not have everything figured out, and that's okay. But when you know what matters today, you stop drifting. And the moment you stop drifting, your life starts moving forward. Chapter 2: Detachment. Stop letting emotions drive your life. It starts with something small. A message you were expecting doesn't come. You tell yourself you don't care, but your chest feels tight. Minutes pass, then hours. Your mind fills in the blanks. Did I say something wrong? Am I being ignored? That one unanswered message quietly hijacks your mood, your focus, and your confidence. By the end of the day, nothing actually happened, but you feel drained. That's not life hurting you. That's your emotions taking control. This chapter introduces a simple but uncomfortable truth. Emotions feel powerful, but they're terrible decision makers. They exaggerate, they rush, they demand action right now. Most regrets don't come from bad intentions, they come from emotional reactions. angry texts, impulsive choices, quitting too early. Detachment isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about creating distance so they don't run your life. Here's the story that explains it. A 22-year-old guy, smart, motivated, loses his temper at work after a rough morning. Traffic was bad. He skipped breakfast. A small comment from his manager hits the wrong nerve. He reacts instead of pausing. The room goes quiet. The moment passes, but the damage doesn't. That night, lying in bed, he replays it again and again. One emotional moment cost him credibility he'd been building for months. Detachment is the ability to step back in moments like that and say, I feel this, but I don't have to act on it. Feelings are signals, not commands. Anxiety doesn't mean danger. Anger doesn't mean injustice. Sadness doesn't mean failure. When you stop identifying with every emotion, you stop being controlled by them. You become the observer instead of the prisoner. For people in their teens and 20s, this matters more than ever. Social media feeds emotional reactions constantly: comparison, outrage, insecurity, envy. Every scroll pokes your nervous system. Detachment is learning to pause before reacting. To ask, will this matter next week, next year? Most things that steal your peace won't. By the end of this chapter, you realize something freeing. You don't need to fix every feeling. You don't need to respond to every trigger. When you detach, you gain space, and in that space, you gain control. And once you control your reactions, your life stops swinging with every emotion. It steadies, it strengthens, and so do you. Chapter 3: Focus. Doing one thing well in a distracted world. It's a normal afternoon. You sit down with the intention to study, work, or build something meaningful. Your laptop is open, your phone is nearby. You tell yourself you'll check one notification, just one. 20 minutes later, you've jumped between apps, videos, messages, and thoughts, and somehow you're more tired than when you started. Nothing meaningful moved forward. That feeling, the mix of frustration and guilt, is what a lack of focus looks like in real life. Most people think they struggle with focus because they're lazy or unmotivated. That's not true. The real problem is that focus has become rare in a world designed to interrupt you. Notifications, trends, endless content, they all compete for your attention, and attention is limited. When it's constantly divided, your brain never goes deep. And shallow effort leads to shallow results, no matter how hard you feel like you're working. This chapter explains a key shift. Being busy is not the same as making progress. Many people fill their days with tasks just to feel productive, but at the end of the week, nothing important has changed. Focus means choosing one thing that matters and giving it your full attention without escape. That's uncomfortable. Your mind will look for distractions the moment things get hard. That's the moment focus actually begins. Think of a 19-year-old trying to balance classes, a side hustle, social life, fitness, and content creation all at once. Everything gets a little attention, but nothing gets done well. Burnout follows. Focus would mean choosing one priority for this season of life and letting the rest stay secondary. That's not failure, that's maturity. When you focus deeply on one thing, something powerful happens: momentum. Progress becomes visible. Confidence grows because you see yourself improving. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else because you're too busy building. Focus simplifies life. It replaces overwhelm with direction and noise with purpose. By the end of this chapter, focus stops feeling restrictive and starts feeling freeing. You realize you don't need to do everything to succeed. You need to do the right thing consistently. In a distracted world, the ability to focus isn't just an advantage, it's a competitive edge that quietly changes your future. Chapter 4: Discipline. Keeping promises to yourself. Discipline is one of the most misunderstood ideas in self-improvement. Most people hear the word and imagine suffering, strict routines, or forcing themselves to do things they hate. But discipline isn't about punishment, it's about reliability. It's about knowing that when you say you'll do something, you actually will. And the truth is, many people struggle not because they lack discipline, but because they no longer trust themselves. Every time you procrastinate, quit early, or make an excuse, something small breaks inside you, not motivation, trust. Over time, your mind starts to expect failure. You plan less seriously. You commit with less confidence. Discipline rebuilds that trust slowly through action, not big, dramatic changes, but small decisions repeated daily. That's how self-respect is created. This chapter emphasizes a critical shift. Discipline works best when it removes choice. When you rely on motivation, you negotiate with yourself every day. When you rely on discipline, the decision is already made. You don't wake up asking if you'll do the work, you ask when. That mental simplicity saves energy and reduces stress. Discipline also means accepting discomfort without labeling it as a problem. Most valuable habits feel boring or uncomfortable at first. Studying when you'd rather scroll, training when you don't feel like it, staying consistent when results aren't visible yet. Discipline is the ability to stay steady without needing constant excitement or validation. Another important idea here is that discipline doesn't shrink your freedom, it creates it. When your actions are predictable, your life becomes stable. Anxiety drops because you know what to expect from yourself. Confidence grows because your words and actions match. You stop relying on luck or bursts of motivation to move forward. By the end of this chapter, discipline stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like self-respect. It's no longer about being extreme or perfect. It's about becoming someone you can count on. And when you can trust yourself, progress becomes inevitable, not because life gets easier, but because you stop getting in your own way. Chapter 5, Happiness, Thinking Long-Term in a Short-Term World. Most people say they want to be happy, but few stop to define what that actually means. Happiness is often confused with excitement, comfort, or constant positivity. This chapter challenges that idea. Real happiness isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet. It shows up as peace of mind, emotional stability, and the absence of constant inner conflict. When your thinking is clear and your actions align with your values, happiness becomes a byproduct rather than a goal you chase. One of the biggest sources of unhappiness for young people is living everywhere except the present moment. The mind constantly jumps backward into regret or forward into anxiety. You replay past mistakes or worry about outcomes you can't control yet. This mental time travel drains energy and makes even good moments feel heavy. Thinking straight means grounding yourself in what you can influence right now, instead of carrying the emotional weight of everything else. This chapter emphasizes the power of long-term thinking. Short-term pleasure often feels good in the moment, but creates long-term problems, missed opportunities, unhealthy habits, financial stress, and regret. Long-term thinking asks a simple question before every decision. Will this help or hurt me a year from now? That question alone filters out most distractions and unnecessary stress. Another key idea here is that happiness grows from consistency, not intensity. People expect big breakthroughs to suddenly make them feel fulfilled, but lasting happiness comes from steady progress. Small wins compound. Showing up daily builds confidence. Living in alignment with your values creates internal peace. You stop needing external validation when your life feels internally solid. This chapter also reframes success. Success isn't about reaching a destination and finally relaxing. It's about building a life you don't feel the need to escape from. When your habits support your mental health and your decisions reflect long-term thinking, life becomes more balanced. Stress doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable. Challenges stop feeling personal and start feeling purposeful. By the end of this chapter, happiness no longer feels like something you're missing. It feels like something you're building quietly through clear thinking, disciplined action, and patience. You realize that the goal isn't to feel good all the time, it's to live well over time. And when you think that way, your life stops feeling rushed and starts feeling intentional. Conclusion. At its core, Think Straight isn't about becoming smarter or more productive. It's about becoming calmer, clearer, and more intentional in how you live. When you strip away the noise, the overthinking, and the emotional reactions, what's left is a version of you that makes better decisions by default. Not because life suddenly gets easy, but because your mind stops working against you. Throughout this book, one pattern keeps showing up. Most struggles don't come from lack of effort, but from unclear thinking. When you don't know what matters, everything feels important. When you react emotionally, small problems feel overwhelming. When you lack focus, progress feels slow. And when discipline is missing, self-trust fades. Thinking Straight connects all of these pieces into one simple principle: control your mind, and your life follows. This matters especially if you're in your teens or 20s. These are the years where habits form, identities solidify, and thinking patterns lock in. You don't need to have everything figured out right now, but you do need to learn how to slow down, question your thoughts, and choose actions that align with the life you want long term. That skill alone puts you ahead of most people. The biggest shift this book offers is identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's bad at focus, too emotional, or not disciplined enough. Instead, you realize you were never broken, you were just untrained. Thinking straight is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with awareness, practice, and patience. So here's the real takeaway. Clarity creates direction, detachment creates control, focus creates progress, discipline creates self-trust, and long-term thinking creates peace. You don't need to master everything at once. Start with one thought, one habit, one decision made calmly instead of emotionally. Small changes compound faster than you think. If this video helped you see your thinking differently, take 1 minute after it ends and write down one thing you'll stop overthinking and one thing you'll start doing consistently. And if you want more book summaries that actually change how you think, not just what you know, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay with the channel. Because the more clearly you think, the better your life becomes.